Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to try and understand an entire country, Canada, by looking at everything that happened on just one single day, August 7th, 2025. What do its biggest pressures reveal about its real character?
It's a pretty interesting question, right? I mean, think about it. Can a bunch of events that seem totally random, a geologic tremor, a crime, a wildfire, even a sports ranking, can they actually tell one single story about a nation's challenges? Well, let's look at what happened on this one day and see if we can piece it all together.
All right, so our story starts with pressures that hit right at the foundation of a country's security. And I mean that both literally, deep under the ground, and figuratively out on the streets. Okay, so picture this. Deep in Canada's Yukon, there's a fault line. It's called the Tintina Fault, and for 12,000 years, it's been silent, dormant. Geologists figured it was just, peacefully resting. But on this day, new data comes out, and it reveals that something else entirely has been going on right under their feet. That's the number they're now talking about, a potential 7.5 magnitude earthquake. It turns out that 12,000-year silence wasn't peace at all. It was immense tectonic strain just building and building and building. And suddenly, this poses a brand new, urgent threat to communities and to infrastructure that always thought they were on solid ground.
So, while geologists are trying to wrap their heads around that massive seismic threat, the ground shakes in a totally different way. This message just pops up on social media. It's a claim of responsibility for an act of violence that has just shattered the peace in a community out in Surrey, British Columbia.
Police get to a local business, Café, and find the windows blown out by 6 bullet holes. And get this, it's the second shooting at this exact same place in just a matter of weeks. So this isn't random. It's a chilling reminder of a different kind of pressure, Targeted gang violence that just chips away at a community's sense of safety, one bullet at a time. So, from the pressures coming from the ground beneath us, we're now looking up. Because in the air, the tensions are just as high. We're talking everything from environmental fallout to a literal life or death situation just hanging in the balance.
And we're not talking about just a few fires. On this single day, Canada is fighting more than 730 active wildfires. They've already torched over 16 million acres. That's not just a local problem, it's a full-blown national crisis, creating this thick blanket of smoke that, well, it doesn't respect any borders. And that smoke is causing some serious international friction. You've got 2 U.S. Republican representatives from New York, Elise Stefanik and Nick Langworthy, sending a pretty blunt message to the Canadian government. They're telling Prime Minister Mark Carney he needs to get a better handle on the situation. It just goes to show you how quickly a domestic crisis can turn into an international political headache.
And all that smoke in the air, it's not just an abstract problem. It has immediate, very human consequences. Up on Yak Peak, 2 climbers fall. They're left hanging there overnight, suspended from their harnesses on the sheer cliff face. A rescue is launched, but it's incredibly difficult because of bad weather and, you guessed it, thick smoke from those very same wildfires. It's a terrifying situation, but after a really daring helicopter operation, they are finally brought to safety in the morning.
So, up to this point, we've seen Canada just reacting to all this immense pressure. But the country is also trying to get ahead of the game. This next story is about a really bold, proactive strategy, and it's designed to deal with some of these big, long-term economic challenges.
So on this same day, the government of Ontario puts out a call to study the possibility of creating something truly ambitious, a cross-Canada energy corridor. The whole idea is to build this massive nation-building piece of infrastructure to move Canadian energy and resources clear across the country.
And the scale of this thing is just huge. We're talking new pipelines to connect the West to the East, developing brand new ports on James Bay, Hudson Bay, and the Great Lakes, and maybe even a whole new refinery. This is the kind of big-picture, nation-building stuff you don't see every day. So you have to ask, why such a massive project? And why now? Well, this isn't just about pipelines. It's about national strategy. The plan is a direct response to all the ongoing challenges with international trade. It's a move to make Canada's own market stronger and make the country less vulnerable to pressures from outside. It's a big swing, for sure.
And finally, let's turn to a kind of pressure that's maybe a bit more familiar to all of us, good old international competition.
We're shifting from the high stakes of national strategy to the equally high stakes of the sporting world. It's a small thing, but it's telling. The new FIFA Women's World Rankings are out, and Canada, which is always a powerhouse team, has slipped just one spot, from 8th down to 9th. A minor setback, maybe, but in the hyper-competitive world of elite sports, every single slip feels pretty significant.
But then, in another corner of the sports world, you see a proactive response to that exact same kind of pressure. Canada's rugby coach, Kevin Rouet, is getting his team ready for a final tune-up match against a top-tier Ireland team. And what does he do? He makes 3 strategic changes to his starting lineup. This isn't just reacting. It's actively preparing to take on the world's best.
So, let's go all the way back to our first question. From a fault line waking up after 12,000 years and bullets shattering the peace in a cafe, to smoke-choked skies and a daring clifftop rescue. From a plan to totally rewire the economy to the simple sting of a rankings drop. The pressure is coming from everywhere. So if pressure really does reveal character, what does this one day show us about Canada? Maybe it shows us a nation defined by this constant tension, this push and pull between incredible resilience and all these ancient, modern, and man-made forces that are testing it every single day. So maybe the real question isn't whether the pressure will ever stop, but whether that resilience will always be enough.